Felix Verdejo filed a motion to allege that the federal authorities did not have jurisdiction over the facts alleged in the indictment. Requesting the dismissal of the case, that led him to 2 life sentences in prison in relation to the murder of Keishla Rodriguez Ortiz and her unborn baby in 2021. Verdejo was found guilty by a jury on 2 charges: kidnapping that resulted in a death and killing an unborn baby. Meanwhile, the jury did not reach an agreement to issue a verdict on the charges of carjacking and carrying a firearm during the commission of a violent crime. The FBI took control of the case from state authorities with the assistance of lawyer Edwin Prado. Before the media distorts this information and convinces the public that Felix has no right to a new trial, let's examine the new motion filed by Verdejo to the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit in Boston. It's crucial to understand how the media has misrepresented the facts, creating false narratives against Felix Verdejo. In our society, corruption often gets buried beneath the surface, hidden away from the public eye. Those we admire, those we watch and listen to, are often paid handsomely to promote a narrative, one that works against the very people they claim to represent. Take, for instance, Felix Verdejo. Once, he was the pride of Puerto Rico, carrying its beautiful flag to the world. Children looked up to him, dreaming of following in his footsteps. Even Bad Bunny, Puerto Rico's top music artist, featured him in one of his music videos. But things changed the moment Verdejo stood up against the corruption that plagued the government, a government that had led to the fall of Governor Ricardo Rosselló. Now some might ask, what does his protesting the government have to do with the crime that led to his life sentence? Well, the answer isn't as simple as it seems. There's a much deeper story, one that few want to talk about. A story where the elites of Puerto Rico, as well as the media, have their hands dirty. Felix Verdejo made a bold stand against the corruption that led to the fall of Governor Ricardo Rosselló. Rosselló's political circle was tight, and one of his closest allies was Pedro Pierluisi, who would later become governor himself. These two weren't just political partners. They were deeply connected in more ways than one. What ties them together even further is a lawyer named Edwin Prado. Prado wasn't just any lawyer. He was a key witness in the case against Verdejo. And despite his involvement, there's something odd. He was protected. Protected to testify in Verdejo's defense. Protected by Pedro Hernández Delgado, who was assigned to his very first criminal case by none other than Pedro Pierluisi. Judge Delgado was tasked with overseeing the case as a personal favor to Ricardo Rosselló. Now, let's revisit the moment when Ricardo Rosselló resigned. In his office, you'll recognize a familiar face: Janet Collazo, a personal friend and employee of Ricardo Rosselló. She was also assigned to prosecute everyone who stood up and protested against him, including Ricky Martin.
Ese mensaje que acabas de dar es jugar con la salud mental de los puertorriqueños. Yo le exijo a los presidentes del Poder Legislativo de la isla que por favor empiecen el proceso de residenciamiento. Si él no se quiere ir, esa es la única opción que nosotros tenemos. Ustedes tienen que escuchar el reclamo masivo de cada uno de los puertorriqueños. Es lo único que pedimos. Esa es la única opción que tenemos. Ustedes tienen que empezar con ese proceso ya. Yo me estoy montando en otro avión, me voy a Puerto Rico, llego a las 7 de la mañana y ya estaré en esa marcha. Yo quiero sentir el poder del pueblo. Por favor, de todos los rincones de la isla, vengan y manifiéstense con nosotros. Tienen que estar ahí, tienen que decir presente. Se los ruego, por favor. Es parte del futuro de tus hijos, de los hijos de tus hijos. Es lo que tenemos que hacer. Ricky, te tienes que ir ya.
Former boxing champion Juanma Lopez. Prosecutor Janet Collazo Ortiz. And the current case against Felix Verdejo. Every time I get in the ring, Puerto Rico goes up with me. And these days, my island needs committed leaders to the people. Enough of the abuse and corruption. The people can't take it anymore, and we are tired of false promises and little transparency. Ricky resign for the good of Puerto Rico. My respect to the uniformed, who just do their job, and we know that it's not easy to be next to them. Edwin Prado, from San Juan, was the one who brought the case to the FBI, and it was through his connections that the investigation went into the hands of Jonathan Gottfried, a member of the FBI who was deeply involved in the case.
Yo lo más que puedo hacer por ustedes es llamar al gobierno federal, a fiscales amigos míos de allí, a preguntarles si van a asumir jurisdicción, por lo que tú me estás diciendo, me parece que hay jurisdicción.
This is the story that's never fully told, the story of corruption, power, and the untold influence of those who shape the narratives we're given. To set the stage for the propaganda, it didn't take long for Edwin Prado to start pulling strings. He reached out to his friends in the media, figures like Jorge Pabon, Molusco, the notorious Santa Rosa, La Comay, and even some of the so-called cardboard lawyers like Joe Mercado. It was all part of the plan. Before any real leads were even uncovered, the narrative had already been decided. The circle of corruption knew exactly what they needed to do: promote Felix Verdejo as the prime suspect in the case, and they wasted no time.
¿El FBI no podría entrar en esta investigación por carjacking?
Bueno, ya nosotros nos hemos comunicado con ellos, ya nos están dando la mano desde otro ángulo, así que les puedo decir que las agencias federales ya se unieron con nosotros mano a mano, así que están de nuestro lado y estamos corriendo en el mismo carril todo.
Porque hay un apoyo de los federales.
O sea que hasta ahora, en el momento que usted y yo estamos hablando, coronel, no hay ninguna pista de dónde ella está. No hay nadie ha llamado para decir absolutamente nada. Ustedes están ahora mismo partiendo del carro que encontraron y la información que tienen.
Y es lo que tienen hasta ahora.
De la que tienen hasta ahora. O sea, no hay ninguna pista de nada.
Lamentablemente te tengo que decir que es así.
As of April 30th, 2021, there were no leads in the case. Initially, it was under state jurisdiction, but the FBI, through Prado, took over the investigation. With no new leads and Jorge Pabon already discussing a carjacking, this became the reason the FBI assumed jurisdiction over the case. The FBI holds the story that Prado shared, along with input from Miguel Santiago, Elisa Marie, Ricardo Cadiz, and Luis Cadiz. April 30th, 2021, was the date of the meeting in Prado's office. It was also the day Ricardo Cadiz was charged with drug trafficking. This date marks a significant turning point in the case. Edwin Prado structured the case to involve Felix Verdejo's SUV, ensuring it was documented in multiple places to establish federal jurisdiction. The suspects took the victim's vehicle, and this raises a significant question. If they already had the victim and had tragically taken her life, why would they also take her car? By seizing the car, they could now create a carjacking angle, which would justify federal involvement in the case. As the meeting took place, Edwin Prado needed time to make sure his clients are cooperating with the feds. To put all the blame on Felix and never mention Miguel Santiago lies and his daughter Elis Marie Santiago. Ricardo Cadiz was in the indictment in Llorens Torres for trafficking cocaine and arrested in Pennsylvania. Ricardo was told to cooperate by Edwin Prado and say that Felix was also involved in moving kilos along with him in the pandemic. This gave Ricardo Cadiz probation for intent to distribute cocaine, and now brings him in as a star witness in this case. Luis Cadiz is the primary key witness in this investigation. Along with an individual he's prohibited from naming, Luis Cadiz was the one who obtained the blocks, drugs, syringe, wires, and gun. He is also the person who injected the victim and fired the gun. Luis Cadiz told the truth to the federal government, but Edwin Prado quickly took him out of the room, telling him he was nervous.
Yo, a toda persona que va a cooperar, tú solamente, la instrucción es bien básica. Di la verdad. Salimos, luego de que el muchacho hablara conmigo, nos fuimos. Estoy hablando que esta conversación no duró ni 2 horas. Yo fui allí, el tipo dio su relato, y yo me di cuenta que le faltó algo esencial en esa primera vez que habló. Y yo lo saqué, le dije, dame un segundito, que él está nervioso, y lo saco para afuera y hablé con él. Y le dije, mira, tú me dijiste hace menos de 2 horas X, Y, Z. No, que la gente no, chico, porque en verdad estaba. Y fue cuando entró otra vez, me hizo el relato tal como me había contado en la oficina. La parte que obvio la dijo.
Prado then instructed Luis to follow the prearranged story. He was told not to mention Miguel Santiago or his daughter Elise Marie, and to simply say that Felix was the one who got the blocks, the drugs, the wires, injected the victim, and shot of the bridge. This is the exact story the media would later present to the public. If no one was on the radar, why did this meeting take place? The answer is simple. On April 30th, 2021, state authorities discovered the victim's car, and the fingerprints found there would have traced back to Ricardo Cadiz. May 3rd, 2021. Tune in to an exclusive TV episode that Puerto Rico knows as La Come. For context, La Come was created by a puppeteer named Cobo Santa Rosa, the television show that has been on the air for decades and a trusted source for the majority of the people in Puerto Rico. Think TMZ before there was a TMZ. This episode was special for several reasons, which we would like to highlight. To begin, Cobo Santa Rosa reveals that he has a reliable source regarding the tragic incident involving the victim, Keishla Rodriguez. He goes on to break down the evidence that allegedly ties Felix Verdejo to this horrific crime. He detailed the chilling evidence, showing cement blocks and stating that Felix had 5 to 6 blocks, wires, a syringe containing cocaine, and a firearm.
Felix Verdejo, que usó no 2 bloques, usó cerca de 5 a 6 bloques con unos cables y encima de la mesita un arma de fuego, una jeringuilla con una sustancia que pudiera ser cocaína y otros cables más.
Imagine turning on your television and being drawn into a chilling story unfolding before your eyes. The stage is set with blocks, wires, a syringe, and a firearm, each item steeped in mystery. The tension builds to a level beyond anything the people of Puerto Rico could have ever imagined. No one is considering the deeper truth. All that matters is what the media has broadcast. And what the media has broadcast is simply what Edwin Prado told them. The picture is now complete, and the image of Felix Verdejo has been stained. As this episode unfolds, Cobo Santa Rosa now holds a letter, which he claims is from Felix Verdejo's mother.
Y no solamente la familia de Keishla está sufriendo también la familia de Felix Verdejo. En el caso, Jan, de la mamá de Felix Verdejo, doña Madeline Sánchez Bonilla. Claro. Señores, voy a leer lo que ella pues ha publicado en las redes. Y esto pues, o sea, yo quiero traer aquí todos las dos caras de la moneda. Vamos a leer esto, un mensaje. Dice, podré cambiar mi nombre. O sea, esta es la agonía que vive la madre de un asesino. Eso lo escribió ella. Podré cambiar mi nombre, mudarme, pero aún así tengo que vivir con el hecho de que mi hijo mató a otra persona. Desearía haber sabido lo que él tramaba. Desearía poder haberlo detenido. Desearía haber tenido la oportunidad de intercambiarme por ella, que perdió su vida. pero por más deseos que tenga, sé que no puedo volver atrás. Ya nada volverá a ser como antes. ¿Cómo se vive con ese suceso clavado en la memoria? ¿Con la culpa por un crimen que uno no ha cometido? ¿Con el rechazo de otros por su parentesco con el asesino? ¿Cómo es que no me di cuenta antes de lo que mi hijo tramaba? ¿Hasta qué punto me sentiré responsable por lo sucedido? Es muy duro vivir con el hecho de que alguien a quien amaste y criaste y le dedicaste tu vida mató brutalmente a otro ser humano de ese modo cruel. Pido disculpas a quien le ofenda por expresar mi dolor y pido perdón a esa familia que hoy sufre esa pérdida irreparable. Pero no me pidan que no sienta por mi hijo. Eso es imposible. No odio a mi hijo, ni le juzgo, porque es mi hijo. Mató y destruyó a otros. También me mató y se destruyó a sí mismo. En realidad, no puedo escapar de esto. Es algo con lo que tendré que aprender a vivir y con lo que moriré. Así que por favor no me vean así. Solo oren por mí. Señores, palabra de doña Madeline Sánchez, la mamá de Felix Verdejo Sánchez. Pueblo de Puerto Rico.
This episode was filmed, aired, and now just about 99% of Puerto Rico and the world are sold that Felix Verdejo is a monster, an assassin with no heart. This story went from the media to certain YouTube influencers that went in and told the same chilling story that was made up without digging for the truth. But if we take a closer look at the letter that Cobo Santa Rosa read and led the people to think that this is a real letter written by the mother of Felix Verdejo, we see that Cobo Santa Rosa purposely failed to inform the public that this is not a real letter. This was in fact published on Facebook, and at the bottom reads, "This was written by a young lady in perspective of what the mother of Felix Verdejo could be thinking."